The title of this podcast is Seeking Targeted Feedback. This was inspired by a conversation that I had recently with a colleague, Jocelyn, which was so rich and insightful and full of wisdom. And we were just sharing some ideas and thinking of ways to collaborate. And we both talked about the importance of feedback and constructive feedback, feedback that can be specific and help you grow. So I started thinking about that after our conversation, and I thought about all the ways in which I've improved that have been helped by feedback from other people. What's interesting about that is Keith 1.0 was not open to feedback at all. And so I started to think about ways in which I could be more open to feedback so that I could grow. Before I wanted to grow, but it was very specific to helping me advance with a certain goal, getting somewhere to produce a certain outcome. Like, how can I get more fit, or how can I be advancing my career in this way, or something like that. Very little of it was about how to grow internally. And if I was going to grow internally as Keith 1.0, well, it needed to be specific to helping me reach some kind of external goal. And that's really changed a lot over the last, 7 years with the practice. So now I would say I have less goals, but more about how I want to show up every single moment of every single day, which I know is aspirational, but by having that kind of intention, I'm able to disidentify with narratives or distractions that may pop up so that I can stay focused on what's really important to me, which is being loving kindness to everyone. So when I think about some of the successes that I've had, and when I meant to say successes, some of the growth that I've experienced in deepening my consciousness, it's been because I've given people permission to help me grow. And as Jocelyn and I were talking, it was about seeking targeted feedback, which is the title of this podcast, seeking targeted feedback in areas that you want to grow. Now, you can do it from a professional standpoint, which is, hey, listen, my long-term goal is to assail to this leadership position. Can you give me feedback along the way that helps me close some of these gaps that I have in terms of my emotional intelligence or skill set? So you can definitely go that route. And I've done that and continue to do that. But there's another part of that I'm doing that I think is even more critical and essential to me showing up the way that I want to show up, which is a servant to others and to experience a whole lot more joy and a lot less suffering in my life. And I've given people permission to help me in that way. So I encourage you to do the same thing. And if you have trouble identifying some of the gaps that are preventing you from growing in the way that you want to grow, being your best, then ask people to give you feedback. After you say, here is something that I want to work on, can you help me identify a gap? And so one of the things, for example, may be I want to be come across as more engaging. I want to be more connected with people. And so a specific way that they may give you some feedback would be start by, whenever you're in this building as a leader, just walk by and say hello to people. Whenever you're in this space, like allow yourself to have 5 to 10 more minutes, of time to walk and say hello to people and ask them how they're doing and how can you serve. So that's one way. But the other way that I did it was I started asking people, I want to be more engaging in the morning. Can you help me be that? And specifically, can you think of anything that you see? Well, yes, Keith, you're on your phone when you first greet me. Maybe you can take 5 minutes and not do that, or just be uninterrupted for whatever time we have together. So not about quantity, but more about quality. The same thing with loved ones when you're saying hello and goodbye to them. Treat it as if it's the first time you've ever seen them, or it's the last time that you're going to see them. And that can contribute to the quality of that experience. But in seeking targeting feedback, one of the examples that Jocelyn gave is that for, let's say, a trainee or a medical school student who is working with a surgeon. So they may have all these things they want to do, but they can come in before even meeting with the surgeon. It's like, listen, I know you're going to show and help me grow in a lot of ways with this new skill that I'm trying to acquire, or this new um, rotation that I'm doing. One thing that I'm working on is my stitching. So along the way, can you give me feedback regarding my stitching? So that's seeking targeted feedback. For you, it may be, hey, listen, one of the things that I'm working on is being an active listener. So can you give me targeted feedback on how good I'm doing at active listening? So for example, am I interrupting? Am I, lost? Can you tell that I'm lost in thought? And without asking follow-up questions, I come back with what I'm going to say. So I'm not seeking to understand. Help me with that. Help me with, I'm quick to react as opposed to taking a moment to pause and give a thoughtful, compassionate response. Help me in that way. If you see that I'm unsettled and I'm off to the next thing, before I even finish this task, I'm already thinking about the next task. So help me cultivate inner peace with settling down. It's like, hey, there's no rush here, being amped up about getting to the airport where the traffic is already congested. We're going to do the best we can when we get there. Hey, this is an opportunity for you to be peaceful when things are not lined up exactly like we would like them. So seeking targeted feedback on how you can grow. Children are really, really good with helping parents in this way of giving targeted feedback, or when they are landing on the child as rushing or being anxious or obsessive in their thinking or their feedback or their criticism. So one thing a child may help the parent with is the parent may often give unsolicited advice to the child. And maybe the child can help them say, hey, listen, you want target feedback about how you can give advice to me or to others that you work with. And one of the ways you can do it is ask for permission first to give feedback. And if someone says no, accept their choice, and accept their choice in such a way that that they feel that you've accepted it by the way that you treat them moving forward. So I know before I've said I've given people a choice of yes or no. And then when they choose, if it's different than what I wanted them to choose, I treat them differently. I withhold affection, I withhold connection, or my energy shifts. So I want to be a person who doesn't do that. So that would be, so targeted feedback would be, I want to be a person that gives people the choice to do so freely. And when they do it, they're left feeling satisfied with their choice based on how I made them feel. So those are just a couple examples of how to seek targeted feedback, to be really specific. Like, go to people when you first greet them and meet them and ask them, hey, can you give me targeted feedback? And so if you're working on the fitness goals, like, hey, give me targeted feedback on my nutrition choices when we're together. So just a few examples that'll really help you grow and get to being your best.